Today we are going to be doing means, median, and mode. And I would like to start today's class with kind of an interesting fact, I guess you could say. So there is such thing as a perfect number. And basically, a perfect number is a positive integer that is equal to the sum of its positive divisors, excluding the number itself. So for example, we have 6. 6 is a perfect number because the factors of 6 other than 6 are 1, 2, and 3, and 1 plus 2 plus 3 is equal to 6. So I just thought that's kind of interesting. So first we have, so today's lesson, like I said, is going to be mean, median, and mode. So what mean is, it's basically the average, and so it's the total sum of the values divided by the number of the values. So for example, here we have the 5 numbers 2, 2, 3, 5, and 8. So if we want to find the average, we just add all the numbers together. So just add 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 8. We just add all 5 numbers. And then since there's 5 numbers, we divide by 5. And this gives us 4, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, so that's mean. And then we have median, which is, so it's supposed, so the median is the middle number. And so for example, here, in this, here, the median is just the middle number, which is 3, So it's just 3. But if, for example, in this case, there's an even number of numbers, there's 4 numbers here. So there isn't really a middle number. So in this case, it would just be the average of the 2 middle numbers. In this case, it would just be the average of 2 and 3, which is 2.5. And then, but there's a really important thing you need to know about median is that first the list has to be in like arranged, like sorted in increasing order. So for example, here it looks like the median is 2, but it's not actually 2, it's actually 3. Because if we were to put this in order, we would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the median is actually 3. So for median, it has to be in order first. You can't just like do the middle number. You have to check if it's in increasing order first. And then next, we have mode, and mode is really easy. It's just the term number that appears the most number of times. So here it would be, as you can see, 1 appears 3 times, and 3 and 4 each only appear once. So the mode is just 1, because 1 appears the most number of times. And in this case here, 1 and 3 both appear 2 times, while 2 only appears once. So in this case, we like both 1 and 3 are the mode. They're both the mode because they both appear the same number of times, and they both appear the most number of times. And so in this case here, where there's only 1 mode, it's called the unique mode. And I just like to point something out about mode and mod. So mode is what we just talked about. It's the term that appears the most number of times, and mod is something else that you don't really need to know for the names here, I think. So it's basically like the remainder. So for example, 5 when you divide it by 3, the remainder is 2. So you would just say 5 equals 2 mod 3. You don't really need to know mod or modular arithmetic. I just wanted to kind of point out that the difference between mod without an E and mode without an E, because they kind of look similar, but they're like very different. So, and are there any questions? If there are no questions, then yes, Rick Astley. So we're going to go on to some questions about mean, median, and mode. So first one. Does Rick Astley has a list of prices in dollars of each of his albums? So he has. Ignore this. Ignore that. Ignore that. Okay. So like I was saying, so his 6 albums are $11, $13, $13, $14, $15, $16, sorry, and $17. And then it's asking for which value is larger, the mean, mode, or median of these 6 numbers. So I'll give you a minute to think about it. Okay, so I guess we can start explaining this question now. So it's asking for which is largest, the mean, median, or mode. So we're just gonna calculate each individual thing. So the mean is just so the prices of his CDs. So first they're 11, 13, 13, 14, 16, and 17. So we're just gonna add all of those up. And in total there's 6 numbers here, so we divide by 6. And then, so the top is just 84 over 6. So the mean is 14. And now for the mode, sorry, give me a sec. Okay, we're back. So for the mode, it's just whichever number appears the most number of times, and 13 appears the most number of times. It appears 2 times, while the other numbers appear once. So the mode is just 13. And the median is, well, median. Oh, wait, I forgot to put this down. There. So the median, in this case, there's an even number of terms, so it's the average. This is the average of the 2 middle terms. So it's just the average of 13 and 14. So it's just the average of 13 and 14, which is 13.5. And if you look at all of these, you see that 14 is the biggest. questions? If there are no questions, we can go on to the next question, I guess. So here we have, this one might take a little bit longer to do. So we have Al, Bob, and Chuck, and their 3 friends. And so right now, the average age of Al and Bob is 28. And 2 years ago, the average age of Al and Chuck is 27. And 5 years from now, so 5 years like in the future, the average age of Bob and Chuck will be 36. So, and then the question is, what is the average age of Al, Bob, and Chuck right now? I'll give you like a minute to do the question. Okay, so I will start explaining this question right now. So let's just set some variables right here. So first, let's let A be, so A is Al's age, B is Bob's age, and then C is, what's his name? Chuck, sorry, Chuck's age. So from the information, we know that the average age of Al and Bob is 28. So you can just right away write that A plus B, the average of A plus B is 28. So A plus B is 2, divided by 2 equals 28, because we know the average age of Al and Bob is 28. And it says 2 years ago, the average age of Al and Chuck was 27. So 2 years ago, Al is A minus 2 years old. And likewise, 2 years ago, Bob is B minus 2 years old, because 2 years ago you're like 2 years younger, so that your age will be 2 less if you, yeah. And then it's just the average of that, and it says it's 27. And then the last one says 5 years from now, the average age of Bob and Chuck will be 36. So 5 years from now, Bob's age will be B plus 5. And likewise, Chuck's age will be, oh wait, that's supposed to be a C. That's supposed to be a C. And then, so likewise, 5 years from now, Chuck's age will be C plus 5. Because in 5 years, your age is like increased by 5. Average, so we divide by 2. And it's 36. So this equation here, we're just going to multiply both sides by 2. And then this gives us A plus B over equals 56. And then here we're going to also multiply by 2 on both sides. And then this gives us, so the 2 here is going to cancel out. And we have A minus 2 plus C minus 2. In other words, we have, so this top part here is just going to be A plus C minus 2 minus 2, or A plus C minus 4. So we have A plus C minus 4 equals 54, like that. And if we add 4 to both sides, we're going to add 4 to both sides, so we know that A plus C equals 58, like that. And then lastly here, we're going to also multiply both sides by 2. And similarly here, this part is just going to be B plus C plus 5 plus 5, or B plus C plus 10. So what this means is Bob, B plus C plus 10 equals 72, which is 36 times 2. And we're just going to subtract 10 from both sides. So we know that B plus C equals 62. And now technically we have 3 equations and 3 variables. So technically we can solve for Bob, Al, and Chuck's, like we can solve for their individual ages. We can do that, but the question is asking for the average of Al, Bob, and Chuck's age right now, which means if we can find out the sum of their 3 ages, then we can answer the question. And notice here, if we add all these 3 equations, we get, so there's 2 A's there, so we have 2A, and then there's 2 B's, so we have 2B, and then there's 2 C's, so we have 2C. And this equals 176, and then if we divide both sides by 2, we get A plus B plus C equals 88. And here we have the sum of Al, Bob, and Chuck's age, so we can actually just answer the question right now. And the average, remember, average is like all the terms added together and then divided by the number of terms. So here we have the sum of all of their ages, and because there's 3 of them, we're going to divide by 3. So the answer is just 88 over 3, or this is roughly like 29.3 years. Are there any questions on that? If not, we'll go on to the next question here. So here we have, so here's the question. So John wants to visit his friend who lives 140 kilometers away. So first John averaged 60 kilometers per hour for 90 and he drove for 90 kilometers before he was ticketed for speeding. Yes, he got a speeding ticket. And then after that, John drove the rest of the distance at an average speed of 50 kilometers per hour. So, and the question is asking, what is John's average speed for the whole trip? And I just want to say this right now, do not average the two speeds. It doesn't work. It almost never works. For these kinds of questions, don't average the two speeds. Okay, so I'm just going to start explaining this question right now. So, average speed is total distance over total time. So, average speed equals total distance over total time. And here we know the distance is just 140 because it's given in the question. Now all we have to do is find the total time. So for this question and for any other question involving like speed, distance, and time, there is a very useful formula which, oh wait, there's something which okay, never mind. Okay, so the time, oh yeah, so like I said, there's a very useful formula that relates distance, speed, and time, and it's distance equals speed times time. That's basically it. And here we're solving for time, so we're just going to divide both sides by speed, so we get time equals distance over speed, which means that, so for the first part, we see that he averaged 60 kilometers per hour for 90 kilometers. So the distance is 90 and the speed is 60. So this is the first part. This is before he got the speeding ticket. Then after that, the speed after was 50 kilometers per hour, and the distance left is also 50 kilometers, because in total, the total distance is 140 kilometers. So before the speeding ticket, he drove for 90 kilometers, which means after the speeding ticket, he drove for 50 kilometers. So the total distance will be 140 kilometers. And this is equal to 2.5 hours. Yes, 2.5 hours. So for the average speed, it's just 140 kilometers divided by 2.5 hours equals 56 kilometers per hour. And yeah, that's the answer. It's 56 kilometers per hour. So yeah, if you average the speeds, would have gotten the question wrong. Are there any questions? Oh, there's something in the chat. If there are no questions, we're going to move on to the questions, the other questions, like the AMCA questions. And would you like to explain the first question?
Okay, so this question is quite simple utility of the mode, mean, and median definition. So let's just give everyone 20 seconds right now. Okay, so in order to understand this question, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, and 7, and we have an x here, right? And the moment we plug this x into this sequence of numbers, median, mean, and mode all become equal. So mean and median, we know it's kind of hard to calculate with this x because x can be in the middle and interrupt the median and interrupt the mean. But mode, it says unique mode, right? So this might be a point that wasn't mentioned beforehand, but if you have, for example, 2, 2, 3, 3, something with like double thing, you can have two modes. So here 2 and 3 are both modes. But the fact that it says unique mode means that x cannot be anything other than x cannot be 3, 4, 5, or 7, because that means 3 and 6 would be mode, 4 and 6 would be mode, 5 and 6 would be mode, and 7 and 6 would be mode. So that means that the mode must be 6. And now that we know the mode, we can, because they're all equal, we know mean and median must be 6 too. So median, if we count, there's 7 numbers, right? So we want to find the fourth largest. So 6 would be the fourth largest. So that's cool. But when we calculate mean, we know it's 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 6 plus 7 plus x over 7, which is 31 plus x over 7, which is supposed to be 6. So if we times 7 on both sides, we get this, and x would be 11. So that's the answer. That's how we got there. Yeah. And I'd like Jason to explain the next question.
Okay. Next question. Austin and Temple are 50 miles apart along Interstate 35. Bonnie drove from Austin to her daughter's house in Temple, averaging 60 miles per hour. Leaving the car with her daughter, Bonnie rode a bus back to Austin along the same route and averaged 40 miles per hour on the return trip. What was the average speed for the round trip in miles per hour? Okay, we're like a bit short on time, so I'll just start on the question right away, I think. We know that Austin, the trip, from the first trip was averaging 60 miles per hour, and the total distance is 50 miles. So the first trip took a total of 50 divided by 60 hours. 50 over 60 hours. And the second trip averaged 40 miles per hour. So that took a total of 50 over 40 hours. And so in total, the entire trip took 50. The total time is 50, 60 plus 50, 40. And that is the total time, which is equal to 25 over 12 hours. The total time it took, she took, and the trip is 100 miles. So the number of miles per hour is 100 over 25 over 12. And this number is equal to 48 miles per hour. That is just equal to 48. Okay, let's move on to question number 3, Alex.
Hello. So first, I'm going to actually share the question PDF in the Discord server. So I'm just going to stop share for a bit, and then open it in the Discord server. Okay. Okay, so I just put in the Discord server, so we are going to continue our lesson now. So this next question here, it says Andy and Bethany have a rectangular array of numbers greater than 0 with 40 rows and 75 columns. And so Andy adds the numbers in each row, and the average of the 40 sums is A. And Bethany adds all the numbers in each column, and the average of those 75 columns is B. So it's asking for the value of A over B. So I'll give you like 30 seconds to do it. Okay, so I'm going to start explaining this question now. So it says they have an array of numbers with 40 rows and 75 columns. And so I'm just going to draw that actually. So we have a rectangle here. So we have some rows and some columns. I'm obviously not going to draw all of them. So we have this, and we know the so let's just let S be the average. Let S be the sum of like all the numbers in like every row. So if we take the number from each like square here and add them all together, we get S. So that's what S is going to be. So we know that the average of the 40 rows is A. So we know that S divided by 40 is equal to A. So which means that A is equal to 40 times S. And wait a minute, S is equal to 40A. Sorry. And since the average of all the columns is B, and there's 75 columns, we know that S over 75 equals B, or S equals 75B. And we can see here that both of these values are equal to S, which means we can write 40A equals 75B. Oh, okay, 45A equals 75B, and then, so we're just going to divide both sides by B. So we get that A over B, so if we divide both sides by 40B actually, 40. And then we get that, so the 40 here will cancel out and the B here will cancel out. We get A over B equals 75 over 8 over 40. And if we simplify this, we can divide both sides. We can divide the top and bottom by 5. So this gives us 15 over 8. So it's D. Are there any questions? If not, then Luck, would you like to do the next question for us?
Okay, so this question is a combination of logic and definition. So I'll give you guys maybe like 30 seconds for this one, because it requires a bit more thinking. Okay, so this one it gives you two vital pieces of information. So first one, it says the largest isn't first, but it's one of the first 3 places. So first 3 places immediately we know is 6, 9, or 12. So if we imagine these 3, so 6, 9, and 12, and it can't be 12, right? Because it's the largest. So there's that. And then second piece of clue is smallest isn't last, but it is in one of the last 3 places. So last 3 places would be -2, 4, and 6. So it can't be -2. And then finally we have the median. So if you think about median, it's the middle number, right? In this case, -2, 4, 6, 9, 12. It's going to be 6, right? In this case, 6 isn't first or last. It can't be 6, can't be 6 here. So we know it's 9 and 4. And what does that ask? It asks for the average of the first and last numbers. So average is the same as mean, so it's 4 plus 9 divided by 2, which is 6.5. Let's see.
Jason, would you like to do the next question?
Okay, I'll start on the next question. Each day for 4 days, Linda traveled for 1 hour at a speed that resulted in her traveling 1 mile in an integer number of minutes. Each day after the first, her speed decreased so that the number of minutes to travel 1 mile increased by 5 minutes over the preceding day. Each of the 4 days, her distance traveled was also an integer number of miles. What was the total number of miles for the 4 trips? Okay. So first, you need to remember that for this question, you need to remember that this distance is equal to speed times time. And so in this question, we want the distance, and from the question we have the information. The time is 60 minutes, or 1 hour, and so we know that the time is 60 minutes. let's say that on the first day, in order to travel, let's say, so the speed of, say the speed is x mile. 1 mile per x minutes. Oh, something weird on my screen that I can't get rid of. One mile per x minutes. And so on the first day, we would get that the distance would be equal to 60 minutes times 1 mile per x minutes. That's the first day. And so the distance here would be equal to 60 over x miles. That's the first day. And so the second day, we know that it spent 5 more minutes, so that would be 60 x plus 5 miles. Third day is 60 over x plus 10 miles. And then it's 60 x plus 15 miles. And so we know that like these are all integer numbers. So we can now factor 60 and then find like the x kind of. And so factors of 60. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, 30, and 60. And so we try to find like numbers that differ by 5, and we can see here there's 5, 10, 15, and 20. So we can use that. We know that x is equal to 5 here. And so these numbers are 60 divided by 5, that is 12. 60 divided by 10, that's 6. 60 divided by 15, that's 4. And 60 divided by 20, that's 3. And we add all 4 of these numbers together and we get the answer 25 miles. And yeah, that's the answer. Okay. Now we can move on to the next question.
Okay, hello. So here's the next question. It says in Teresa's first 8 basketball games, she scored 7, 4, 3, 6, 8, 3, 1, and 5 points. In her 9th game, she scored fewer than 10 points, and her points per game average is an integer. And similarly, in her 10th game, she's also scored fewer than 10 points, and her points per game average for the 10 games is also an integer. So it's asking for what the product of the number of points she scored in the 9th and 10th game. So I'm going to give you sum of the scores of the first 8 games is just 7 plus 4 plus 3 plus 6 plus 8 plus 3, 8 plus 3 plus 1 plus 5. This is equal to 37. And the question says that after, in the 9th game, she scored a certain number of points, less than 10 points, and the average points per game is an integer. And so that means that if the total number of points for 9 games must be divisible by 9. And the only number we can add to 37 to get a multiple of 9 that is also less than 10 is 8. So her ninth game must have been 8 points, because if we add 8 to this, we get 45, and that's a multiple of 9. And it's also less than 10. So for the first 9 games, her score is 37 plus 8 equals 45. And similarly, her average points per game is an integer after the 10th game, which means the total sum of the total points in her 10 games is a multiple of 10. And we can see that she must have scored 5 points in the 10th game. So she must have scored she must have scored 5 points in the 10th game. So it's just asking for the product of 8 and 5, which is 4. So that's the answer.
Oh, you sleep now? 我没想完了。
Yeah. Okay. So are there any questions? If there are no questions, then Locke, would you like to do the next question?
So a lemming sits at corner of a square with side lengths 10 meters. The lemming runs 6.2 meters along the diagonal towards the opposite corner. It stops, makes a 90-degree turn, and runs 2 more meters. A scientist measures the shortest distance between the lemming and each side of the square. What is the average of these 4 distances in meters? So this one requires some geometry as well as the averaging. So I'll give you guys about 1 minute or so to do this one. Have a think about it. Okay, so this one we'll need to, of course, draw a graph because it mentions a path. So let's have my square here. It is 10 meters square. So let's suppose he starts at corner A. He runs 6.2 meters along the diagonal. So let's say 6.2 is somewhere along here. And then she turns right, so that's from her perspective, right? So she originally was going this way, so turning right would be that way, right? This way. That's an arrow, so we'll need to turn 90 degrees there for 2 more meters. So here we'll need to use the Pythagoras theorem that we learned back in a couple lessons ago. So we know the side length is 10 meters, and they ran 6.2 meters along the diagonal and 2 more meters after turning right. So 6.2 and 2 meters. Here we want to find the average of these 4 distances. So these 4 distances mean here, 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 and here. Now this may seem hard, and originally you'll think that way, but there's actually a very simple trick to doing this. So don't you realize that the sum of these 4 is exactly 2 side lengths, right? So that's 4 for 2 side lengths. Each is 10, so 10 plus 10 divided by 4 would be 5. So I told you guys to use Pythagoras formula as a way of telling you this is a possible rail, trail, or mistake that many of you could make, thinking that, oh my god, it's triangle, distances, right angles, it must be Pythagoras, but no, a lot of the time it doesn't have to be. So in this case, this is just a diversion tactic to try to mess up your mind, when in reality the answer is right there. So that's that. This would and I would like Alex to present his thoughts about this.
Next question I think is my question.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start the next question right now. So Gage skated 1 hour 15 minutes each day for 5 days and 1 hour and 30 minutes each day for 3 days. How long would he have to skate the 9th day in order to average 85 minutes of skating for the entire time? Give you a minute. Okay, I'll now start explaining the question. So we know that for 5 days she skated 1 hour and 15 minutes, which is equal to 75 minutes. So that will be 75 times 5 minutes. And 1 hour and 30 minutes, which is 90 minutes for 3 days. And on the last day, on the 9th day, she skied for, let's just say, n minutes, because let's just say she skied for n minutes. That is a total of 645 plus n minutes skated. And so she wants to average 85 minutes of skiing every day for the entire time, and there's a total of, as you can see, there's a total of 9 days. That will be 645 plus n divided by 9. That will be, you want that to be equal to 85. And so here, by solving for x, we get that x is equal to 120 minutes, n, which is equal to 120 minutes, which is equal to 2 hours. So 2 hours, that's the answer to this question. Okay, we're a bit out of time. I'm not sure if I just want to move on to the next question.
And we also know that the median is 18, and it's asking for the maximum integer, so just draw 5. So the median is 18, so just put 18 there. And it says the mean is 15. So the total sum of the 5 integers equals 15 times 5, or 75, like that. And we want, it's asking for the maximum possible value of the largest of these 5 integers. So we're looking for this, looking for the maximum possible value of this integer here. And if we want this one to be the largest, then we want all of these 3 to be as small as possible, which means that we're going to make this 1, 2, 19. This will be 1, 2, and 19 because it says different. So these two, we can't put 1 and 1 because they're not different. So that means this number here is just 75 minus 1 minus 2 minus 18 minus 19, or it's equal to 35. So that's the answer. It's D. Are there any questions for that? If there are no questions, then I'll stop sharing. So yeah, that is it for today. So you just did means, median, and modes. And also, tomorrow is July 11th, so there will be like free Slurpees at 7-Eleven. Yay. Next time, we haven't decided what we're going to do next time, but Jason and Locke, do you have any other final things you want to say?
No, I don't have anything, but thank you all for coming to this class. And the next class will be next week at the same time.
It will be algebra again.